Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, the Frugal. So today, despite the fact that I am working at home, because we're all working at home, I am actually off sick today. So I'm not going to talk about that. This is March 2020, so if you're watching it this year, you know why I'm off sick. I will film another video going through that journey and everything I felt with that after this, maybe after I've had a bit of a nap. But please do forgive if I have a croaky voice or if I kind of need to catch my breath. You know what I'm going through. But because I am part of the millennial rise and grind generation, I kind of just thought I would make this video today because it's been on my to-do list. So not to waste the time, and because this morning I'm feeling pretty energized, I wanted to jump on camera and really just talk about the lessons that I've learned from my immigrant parents. So growing up in a Nigerian household, we did not approach money in the way that many people approach money in the Western world. And I want to talk about a few of the lessons that both of my parents instilled in me that have put me in good stead as an adult. So these are lessons around saving, investment, and frugality. So hopefully you find this interesting. And hopefully they mirror some of the lessons that your immigrant parents have taught you. And if you don't come from immigrant parents, it'd be good to hear if you learn these lessons or what lessons you learn that may be different from mine. So I have to start with the classic. Every child that grew up in a Nigerian household recognizes this line. And that is, there's rice at home. Anytime my brothers and I wanted to stop at McDonald's or KFC, or get that snack or beg our mom and dad for that takeaway, we were always reminded that there was food in the house. So takeaways were treats for us. They were not the norm. They were not the whole Friday night, Saturday night, every week as a cycle part of our meal rotation. They were a treat. And the reason why my parents were able to confidently say there's rice at home is because for them, meal prepping was absolutely the norm. I grew up as a child making stews, prepping fish, cutting up vegetables, helping both of my parents cook in the house. And it meant Monday through Sunday, there was always food. If my mother or my father cooked on a Monday, there was still portions of that meal left on a Thursday. We would cook up big batches of soups and stews and rice on a Sunday, and that would again last us for the next few days. And so because of that, my parents were immediately able to manage their money and they weren't caught out. There was never a day when us children went hungry, and we never needed to go out for an emergency takeaway and order in order to feed us. This is me having full-time parents. So as an adult now, I can appreciate it so much because at the time, I just thought my parents were being stingy. But now I see the beauty of meal prepping. I come home from work every single day when life is normal and I'm actually able to go out to work. And there's food ready for me. I may just need to make fresh vegetables. I might want to make a little extra side dish. But the bulk of my meal is ready. I can just warm it up. I can put it in the oven. I can put it in the microwave. I can put it in a pot to warm. And then within 10 minutes, I'm ready to have a meal. And that just removes one of the stresses from my day. Also in terms of monetary value, meal prepping drastically reduces the cost per meal. If you're batching up your ingredients and you're making big portions of things, it's immediately going to be cheaper than ordering out. And as I've come to really embrace this frugal lifestyle, the first thing I started was batch cooking, moving away from cooking every night, moving away from getting home late and being like, oh no, I don't have any food. Let me just order a Chinese. Let me just go to the fish and chip shop. And it saved me so much money. I tell you, keep telling your children there's rice at home. It is a lesson that they definitely need to learn. And I now, looking back, I really, really appreciate it. Okay, start again. Whew. I'm getting tired. So, the second lesson that I learned from my immigrant parents around money was also related to food. and that is to prepare a shopping list before you go shopping. So when we were kids, my parents would create long shopping lists, and they would go through the cupboards, our home stores, they would go through the fridge, the freezer, and they would ask us kids what we needed for the week, and they would itemize absolutely everything, and they would put everything down. And what it meant was, when we went grocery shopping after church on a Sunday, we would stick religiously to that list, and we would not deviate, we would not buy anything else. So it didn't matter what deals we saw, it didn't matter what my parents might have fancied. They only bought what was on the list. And so it meant that they had a tight control of their grocery budget. Looking back, I probably just thought my parents didn't care about those fancy deals, but I can now see that it was just a really good way to control your budget. Buy what you need, be frugal, don't just buy what you want frivolously and waste money. So now as an adult, every week when I'm going grocery shopping, I too make a list of what I need. You'll always find if you don't make a list, you'll forget the things that you do need, and you'll buy the stuff that you don't need because those deals will sway you. Now, because I am an adult, I do make my own money, and I am fortunate that I am well paid. I can have a little bit more flexibility with my shopping list. So if there is something that I kind of would like to try, I am able to add it. But as a rule, I always have a shopping list to guide me for what I need. As I meal prep, as I discussed in the first lesson, I put all the ingredients I need down on my list. I look at kind of like my staples that I need, oat milk, like things like oat milk, eggs, things like that I need to have every week. I put them on the list, and I stick for about 95%, I stick to that list. So the third lesson that I learned from my parents, and in particularly my father, is to have a good idea of how much things cost so that you can budget accordingly. So my father has a photographic memory. He can tell you how much a pint of milk costs at Tesco compared to Sainsbury's, compared to Lidl. So when we were kids, my father would write out little lists, and whenever we needed to go and run errands for him, and we maybe needed to pick up some groceries or anything, and we got old enough to kind of run errands for our parents, my father would itemize the list and put prices next to it and actually tell us where to go for the thing that he wanted. And he would give us the exact money, and it never failed. Or if he rounded up and gave us, I don't know, £20 to go and get the stuff that he wanted, he knew to the penny what his change would be. So you couldn't shortchange him. You couldn't buy a 10-pence sweet because my dad would know he had 10 pence missing, and you'd have to justify that you did it. You'd have to answer to him. And we never wanted to do that. So we always gave him his change back to the penny. But actually it has taught me that having a good idea of how much things cost means that, number one, you can budget. So if I say that I'm going to spend, I don't know, £30 on shopping this week or £50 on shopping this week, I want to be able to put together a list of what I need and know that actually I'm not going to suddenly have to spend £70 because I couldn't kind of mentally calculate what my shopping list cost. Or in fact, if I want to buy a flight and I'm planning a holiday and I'm starting to save towards it, I kind of want to have a rough ballpark of how much the flight's going to cost in the period that I want to go so I can plan accordingly. The same would be for hotels, the same would be for tech. And actually I found it a really useful lesson to just keep an eye on how much things cost. So the other way that this lesson has helped me is to stop me from being impatient. So rather than just buying something at a price because it's just easier for me to get it here now, having an idea of how much things cost and where actually helps me and encourages me to shop around for a deal. If I know I'm in a certain place or on a certain website, their things track a little higher in price than the comparative store or the comparative website, I will go and check that other place and hopefully find that I can save some money and make a purchase elsewhere. Generally, knowing how much things cost means that you're not wasting money, you're not losing money by giving it away, because you don't know that there is a better place for you to go and spend your money elsewhere. So I don't have a photographic memory like my father. I don't know that a pint of milk costs 53 pence. I'm not like that, but I do keep an eye on prices. So the fourth lesson that I learned from my immigrant parents, and this one came particularly strongly from my mother, is negotiating a deal. So growing up with my parents who are Nigerian, and they grew up shopping in markets where you haggle. Haggling is the norm. If somebody gives you a price and you say yes, you are the fool for saying yes. And I have been caught out by this every time I've been to Nigeria throughout my whole life, where people have laughed at me because I either haven't negotiated hard enough or I've just said yes because I can't be bothered. And I'm like, it's not expensive in relation to what I think is expensive. But my mother is always haggling, always negotiating. It doesn't matter if we're in a market or if we're in Boots. Now, as a kid, I used to hate it. I used to just be like, Mom, can you just pay the price? Stop asking for a discount or a little reward or something. Just pay, let's go. But now, as an adult, and I can see that my mother has always been able to get discounts from things. My mum has always been able to get gifts. She never fails when she's buying cosmetics, skincare, to ask if there's a little rewards gift, if there are any samples. And my mother gets the best things. And so I'm now trying to learn to overcome my embarrassment and just say, is there anything you can do for me? Can you give me some money off? If you can't give me money off, is there anything you can give me as your loyal customer? And I'm getting better at it. I still need to keep practicing, but I'm getting better. Recently, I've been negotiating a relatively expensive purchase, an assessment for something that I'm trying to organise, and I'll be talking about that later in a video in the future, once it's all finalised and everything's agreed. But talking to my mother about it, I was like, oh Mum, this is the price, just so you know, like, she's giving me this price, it sounds like a good price. My mum was like, well, just ask for £50 off, see what happens. I was like, what? She was like, just ask for £50 off, see what happens, you never know. So I go back to the person I'm trying to arrange this assessment with, and I just said, oh, I'm really looking forward to like going with you. I want to book, these are the dates, but I've had a counter offer of X. What can you do? And she came back and she said, yeah, you can have X. And it was £50 off. And I honestly, again, back when I could actually go out and see my parents, I gave my mum the biggest hug because I was like, yes, I finally did it. And it's really weird as a salesperson. I'm negotiating with people all day, every day. People are negotiating with me on price. And it's still not my immediate instinct. I'm still learning to do it. I'm still learning to overcome my embarrassment. But every time I think back to watching my mum do it, it heartens me. And I'm like, just give it a try. The worst they can say is no. And the best that can happen is that I actually get what I want and more, because actually people are willing to give away significantly more than you ask for just to get the deal done. So negotiate. My immigrant parents have always negotiated, and so I'm taking that forward into the future. The final financial lesson that I learned from my parents was around investing and saving for the future. And this came very strongly from my mother, very strongly. This is a lesson that I learned from a very young age, and as I got older and my mum got older and made more money, that lesson became bigger and bigger and became more and more reinforced, and has put me in the best possible position today. So as a kid, my mother always sat me down and went through her pension information with me. She always told me how much she was paying in. She always told me what her expected pot would be. So I would understand that when she was old, she would be well taken care of. and that the work that she was doing, that her profession was putting her in good stead so that I would not have to look after my mother in the way that my mother and her siblings looked after my grandparents. She always made me confident that my mother would have a comfortable retirement and old age. And she always reinforced to me, start a pension as soon as you can. So when I got my first job, so when I got my first professional job that did not have a pension scheme, I set up my own private pension. And then as I moved through my career and joined organizations that offered matched contribution pensions, I made sure to put in the maximum required. And then in the last year or so, I've overshot. I'm now paying 7% and get, I believe, an 8% match. So monthly, my pension contributions are really strong. I'm putting myself in good stead for the future so that my children don't have to look after me. Now I'm a Nigerian and I have Nigerian parents, and one of the things that I enjoy so much is to treat my parents and not provide for them, but to make their lives easier. So I do work hard to make sure that my whole family can enjoy the fruits of my labor. So my parents definitely enjoy the benefits of my sweat, but I don't have to feed my parents, and they will not be in a position where I have to feed them. Aside from pensions, something that my mother did, back when we were kids, and it would have been, I believe, in the 90s, she started investing. Now at the time, I didn't know what this was, but again, she sat me down when I was a kid and she told me about this scheme that she was paying into every month. And I believe she was paying something like 200 or 250 a month for about 15 years into an investment vehicle. She couldn't take the money out. She had to let it sit and compound over 15 years. And she always explained the risk to me, that she could end up losing money. She could end up getting out only the money that she put in, or her money would compound and grow, and her investments would be successful, and she would get a bigger pot of money out at the end, and so she felt it was worthwhile. So I knew about this, knew about it. I was a kid and then a young adult, so I didn't really have any money to do anything like that. But the year that it matured, my mother got a payout of somewhere between 50 to 60,000 pounds, and she did not put anything near that much money in over those 15 years. And so her investments were successful. And with that investment, she was able to purchase property for my younger brother. She was able to do up her kitchen, and she was able to fulfill some of her own dreams, invest in more assets, and really just make her life and my family's life and my father's life more concrete. And so the year that investment vehicle matured and she got her payout, I was gobsmacked. I was like, so this is the outcome. Like this is the evidence of what investing can do. This is how it can improve lives. So for my family's point of view, we've always been pretty secure. So it didn't change our lives, but it definitely added an extra layer of benefit to our family life. But for a number of people, it could actually change your life. It could improve the trajectory of your retirement. It could vastly improve your quality of life. So that year, I started investing myself, and I opened my Nutmeg account as my brokerage, and I started paying into an ETF, an exchange traded fund. And I've been doing that now for a couple of years. I think I'm almost 3 years that I've been paying into it. And I've committed to paying in 300 a month, every month for 15 years. Once I get to the point where I'm no longer paying for my MBA, I will drastically increase my monthly payments so that I can actually begin to forecast a potentially bigger pot. And I do understand the risk. If we look at the world today, we can see there's so much financial turmoil. And as we speak, I have lost a significant amount of money from my investments, but I'm still confident that the stock markets, the global stock markets, will bounce back. So I'm still investing. I'll link my last video above where I talk about my current strategy for this financial crash and this pandemic that we're in. It has changed slightly since I made this video, and I will probably come back and do an update on that. I've decided to take a slower approach, so rather than putting in £1,500 over 2 weeks, I've to date put in just under £900, and I'm just stretching out the rest of that payment over the next couple of months, because the stock market has rebounded, but I assume that's temporary, and so I don't necessarily think we've reached the bottom. So in order for me to take advantage of that, I'm still pound cost averaging, dollar cost averaging if you're in the US. Okay guys, that's the end of the video. My chest is getting a little tired. It's affecting my voice a little bit more today. I'm gonna go have a drink and have a lie down. But before I go, please do let me know which lessons you learned from your parents growing up. And actually, were there any lessons you wish you'd learned from your parents? Because that's a video I think I'm gonna make in the future. Lessons that I've had to learn by myself, by fire, by force, just through sheer mistakes and kind of just learning. So I know that's a thing that we all go through. Our parents can't give us everything, but generally they do put us in good stead. If you like this video, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, and you'd like to see the lessons I didn't learn from my parents, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.